Hey guys, it's TheRykerDane. I'm going to show you how to do a full tune-up on your push lawnmower. This is a Briggs Stratton 190cc engine, so let's get started. Okay, so what I got here is a Craftsman 625 series, 190cc, 21-inch cut, kind of beat up, and old lawnmower that needs to be fixed up, tuned up. We're going to replace the blade, we're going to replace the needle, we're going to clean out the carburetor, we're going to replace the spark plug, and do some other general fixing and cleaning and get this baby ready to run for the summer. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is take all the gas out of the tank. If you still have gas in there, just release this fuel line and all the gas will come out. As soon as you're done with that, flip it over and do the easiest part and change out this blade. Now when you change out this blade, as you can see, this one is bent really bad and it's really dull on the edge. Here is the new one. You can see a little bit straighter. We're going to need to replace this piece right here that attaches to the blade because it's a little bit stripped. So that will go right on here. And make sure when you put your blade on, it's going the right way. It's not upside down. So an easy way to think about that is to have the taper of the blade pointing down, and when you put it on the lawnmower, you're actually going to point that up. If it was flipped around, it wouldn't cut the grass right. So tapers down, putting that up into the lawnmower, and then stick your bolt in. And there we go, I got a new blade. First thing is done. Next thing we're going to do is take off this cover here so we can get in next to the carburetor. Usually just a few screws. Take out this screw. Here's the air filter. I'm going to remove these bolts here. Alright, so take this part off. There's going to be a line attached. Just slides right off. And here we got a carburetor that we need to clean out. We need to clean out the bowl. And we're going to replace the needle, which is up inside there and inside next to the bowl. Take out these two bolts that hold the carburetor on. And when you remove this, there's going to be a little spring on top. Detach that spring. Sometimes it's a little easier to remove this top part. Here's your fuel line. You want to remove that. Just squeeze that and bring it down. Pull this fuel line off. There we go. And there you go. Here's your carburetor. I'm going to clean this carburetor and replace the needle. You need to take the bowl nut off first, which is right there. Alright. Pull the bowl off. You've got your float here, and then you've got your needle right there that attaches to the float. I'm going to blow all this out with carburetor cleaner and show you how to remove the rubber gasket that's inside. First thing is we're going to remove this little pin here, and then very carefully we'll flip it around, pull this out, and as you can see there is the needle. We're going to replace this needle, and if you look down inside, we're going to replace this rubber gasket that's inside. Okay, so we're going to take our carbon choke cleaner and clean this carburetor up. Okay, so to get into all these little tiny holes, what you can do is take a paper clip and get down in those holes and make sure they're nice and cleaned out. Just to use as a by the wires, you can see there's paper clips going through there. Make sure there's no junk or garbage floating around. Once you get done with that, what you've got here is a rubber gasket down here. If you don't have the tool, just use a regular standard screw. Put that in there, Screw it a few times and pull it out. And there's the rubber gasket that goes in there. Now pay attention. This rubber gasket has a little lip on the top, which goes towards the top. That's going to go in first when you put the new one in. So after you clean that out nice and good, make sure there isn't any gunk anywhere. We're going to also replace this rubber gasket here that goes onto the bowl. It's always a good idea because they can get dry, brittle, and crack. And we'll put on this new one. Before we put this new gasket on, make sure you take your air compressor and just blow out all your holes. Make sure everything's clean, there's no gunk or anything anywhere. Put that bowl gasket on. Our new needle and our little rubber gasket piece. Remember, the groove is up, which is going down into the carburetor. So we're going to flip that around. We're going to take our handy dandy screw here. Make sure you don't cut into it. And the only reason I'm using a screw is to give it a little grip to be able to stick it into the hole. So the groove is up. And we'll stick that down there. Now if you have the tool to do this, it's a lot better. Just push it in there and unscrew. And it should be good to go. Just make sure when you put it in there it's nice and seated level and in their position correctly. So we're going to take our float and our new needle, stick that right in the groove there. Alright, and then we'll stick that right into the hole. Alright, so the needle's down in there, you can see. And then take your pin and put that back in. Okay, and then we're going to put our bowl back on. And take your bowl nut. Just make sure that this bowl nut, since it has some holes in it, make sure those are cleaned out. Just like that, it's all cleaned up and should be good to go, and we'll put it back on the lawnmower. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do to tune this lawnmower up is change this spark plug out. Put a new spark plug in, a little better. Make sure you get the right one. Alright, that is done. Okay, so we're going to put this carburetor back on. Make sure this goes in the right spot like it was before. And then we can take this little spring and attach that. And then just make sure everything is clean, the gasket is good to go. Put that back on there. Put your 2 bolts back in the side of the carburetor. Take your fuel line and attach that. And we'll just put this cover back on. Put this back on this line here. Put these 3 bolts back in. Put your cover on. Alright, take your air filter. You want to make sure we blow this out and clean this out pretty good first before we put it back in. You can even take your carb and choke cleaner, clean this off. Clean your cover. Alright, take your air filter, put that in. I'll probably get a new air filter. This one isn't too bad. Just want to make sure there's not any dirt or mud or anything stuck in the filter itself. Fits in there good. Alright, take this last top piece and put that in. Alright, so all we got to do now is just clean it up a little bit more, put some gas in it, and fire it up. Primer a few times. Now, I didn't tell you this before, but this lawnmower wasn't running and it would not start before I started tuning it up. So hopefully that tune-up job will help you with your own lawnmower. I've got other lawnmower videos if you want to check them out on my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.